Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello, welcome to the Popternative Podcast, the podcast where we have digital discussions and chats from the worlds of social media, TV, pop culture, sports, everything really, depending on the guests we talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. You will recognize my guest from a lot of cool projects, specifically recently host on Shudder, but you'll also recognize her from Annihilation, Wonder Woman, and she has her own podcast as well that she's going to talk about. We were with Jemma Moore. Gemma, welcome to Popternative.
Hey Peter, how's it going?
It's going well. I mean, we'll talk about kind of some of the projects and films you worked on, but it's this is a podcast, and you also have your own podcast. So can you tell us about your podcast a little bit?
Well, my podcast is about hobbies, and it was something that I started as a hobby and still is a hobby. And basically, I don't know about you, but when you get into and I don't know, this is probably why you started a podcast, but when you start talking to people at cocktail parties or in a cafe, or I had an old lady speak to me once, I just wanted to keep asking more and more questions, and something that I saw people get sort of light up on their faces with this childlike joy was talking about their hobbies. And hobbies is something where there's no payoff, you're not doing it as a career. It's just purely that self-alone time for you. And I just, I fell in love with finding out about some of these hobbies that people do, like Quidditch, Dungeons and Dragons I'm now into. I've just had my dice delivered and all sorts of other things. We've got photography, what are they called? The rooms where you get locked in and then you have to get out. Escape rooms,
yep.
And bullet journaling. And I've since tried. I need to go and try Quidditch, but I'm sort of waiting to get my fitness back up because I've eaten so many bits of banana bread. But yeah, it's fantastic. And I've got season 2 that's just launched, and that's us researching, me, Amachada Patel, and Carla McGlynn, researching about people in all over the world, what they're doing as hobbies. And our first episode about technology has just come out, so I went into the robot wars hoping I'd find an underground London robot wars, but and sadly there isn't any. But yeah, so it's all about hobbies.
Are you seeing a trend with kind of actors and people in the entertainment industry starting a podcast? Because I feel like it's become a really popular kind of vehicle for discussions these days. A lot of people have a podcast.
I think it's a creative outlet for sure. I think it's very helpful for a lot of writers. I notice a lot of writers get on. It helps people to connect as well. I think maybe, we were taken away so quickly from all of our loved ones and friends. Podcast is a place where you can connect. And not only that, it allows you to connect with, new people. And I live in a city, and that was something which really drew me to living in London, is to be able to, bump into a stranger and have a chat. I have a dog now I got a dog to utilize that to be able to talk to people. But
absolutely.
I think podcasts allowed for that to happen.
Absolutely. We're not going to beat around the bush. I mean, you're part of one of the scariest horror movies that recently came out called Host on Shudder, which takes place on a Zoom call and just really scary things. And I understand that you're not the biggest horror movie person, and you are ironically in one of the scariest horror movies I've ever seen.
Peter, I'm so scared. And I think that's only testament to how good horror films were when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and all the posters in I was at an all-girls boarding school, and all the posters in this dormitory fell down, and I was on a bunk bed. I didn't get out. I needed a wee for the whole night, and I did not move. And then for Blair Witch, I watched it in a tent camping. So I really did myself a wrongdoing when I was younger. And to be honest with you, if you put me in a forest that was and you were like, okay, well, we're going to leave you here until morning and it's going to be pitch black, I'd rather hit my head with a rock or on a tree to knock myself out rather than experience the whole trauma that I would go through.
There actually is a horror film called The Forest.
Is there?
Don't watch it.
No, I won't watch it.
I don't think if it's gonna be.
I have to walk the dog in the morning. I can't watch that. Winter's coming. Winter is and then it gets dark.
For sure. But you've been in some other cool projects as well, Annihilation and Wonder Woman. What was it like kind of working on those projects?
Wonder Woman was incredible. We were in Italy for a month. We were training for a month beforehand. I did a lot of horse combat stunts. There was one moment that I will never forget, and that is we had a big green screen arc, and it's the bit where all the riders come around the corner and everyone's running. And I got told, like, okay, yeah, that's fine. You know, there's going to be some there's going to be some people, some men, some Germans, and you're just going to ride through them, and you're going to, and then come out the other side, and we're going to reset. And I come through this arc, and then it's like there's fire everywhere, there's explosions happening, there's horses flying around, there's people flying around, there's no tunnels for the Germans, and I honestly was like shaking. My adrenaline was so high, and I was riding with these women who were just so strong and cool, and Patty Jenkins is just up at the top at the Studio Village, and one of the coolest moments of my entire life.
That's amazing.
And Doom Annihilation was the funnest. It was so fun. We were filming in Bulgaria, and we had an incredible, Tony Giglio is incredible. We had an awesome cast. It was really, really fun. Amy Manson was there. And again, that was just like working with friends. Amachella Patel, actually, who's one of the hosts of my podcast, we became best friends from filming Doom Annihilation, because the first time that we arrived, I got given an AK-47, and I'd just eaten raw chicken from a sandwich that I bought. And then so we bonded, and he was wearing pink socks. And we said that we would be useless if we were ever used in the military between us two. We were like, no one should ever hire us to be in the military.
Do you think that's a lot more common than people think? Like people kind of finding their best friends like on a project? Because I'm sure like it happens, but it seems to be happening a lot more than I think. Like people becoming like best friends after making a movie together.
I think you're thrown into these unusual situations, and also, some of these situations are really tough. Like as actors, we put ourselves through a lot of, stunts and long nights, and you have to be able to have a bond with someone. I'm really lucky I've not come across an occasion yet where I've not got on with someone. But when you find that person that you can have a giggle with, and then, they say action and you're in the moment, and then they say cut and then you're having a little giggle with again, I think there's no price tag on that. That's just pure friendship.
Now on Host, did you know each other before making that movie?
Yeah, so Radina, Haley, and Caroline had all worked together before with Rob, and all of us girls, me and Emma have known each other probably the longest, and then me and Caroline actually also have a production company together. We've made a film called Stalling It that's currently on the festival circuit as well. It Girls Productions, so we're doing a short form series called It Girls, which is like a comedy series redefining the It Girl, and so we all kind of knew each other, and we know Jed, as Haley has mentioned before many times. We all have this quarantine movie club group where every Wednesday we do a quiz, and then every sort of day we kind of either do a board game online, or we do like a Netflix party and watch something that none of us have seen or someone has seen before. We really got into Shrek at one point.
Oh man, Shrek. The animated,
Your host, Shrek.
Those classic ones are just amazing. But it's really cool because I find this movie that you guys made over quarantine, and like I find there's certain things that like in the movie that like you really touch on to kind of make like to kind of show that it is like a quarantine movie, like the mask and like the elbow. Yeah. So no, but like small little things like that, I think you guys hit it out of the park. It was awesome.
Oh, you're cutting out a little bit there. Hello.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. No, just small things like that I find were pretty cool too. You guys hit it out of the park with that.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't defining moments, but they were like a nod. Like at the beginning, we went out for the claps for carers, and we were walking around to listen to all sort of everyone clapping and everything. And I think it was just to be like, this is the movie in our moment in time. And so actually we couldn't, when I went to Haley's house, I couldn't help her put all the cupboards back together when she pulled them down. And because I had to be on the other side of the room while she was in Fort Knox of this fishing wire, putting everything back on the shelves. And I had to basically just point to her. So it was relevant and it felt relevant. And, you know, I had to wear a mask when I went to Hayley's. And then as soon as I was filming, everybody was out the room apart from a laptop that was just left on a desk where I was being directed by Rob Savage, and Douglas Cox was there as well to make sure that everything was going down okay. So it was real. I did have to wear a mask at Hayley's.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What has the reception been specifically from what you see, like from your social media feeds? Like, I mean, the overall reception that I'm seeing is that it's one of the scariest movies out there, and word of mouth. And I feel like it's just kind of like a chain reaction where everyone's kind of watching it right now. But like for you, like, have you noticed like a big spike in your social media? Is there a lot of messages? Like, what has that been like?
It's been incredible. There's been so many lovely messages. Like, I just, you know, I'm sort of overwhelmed, and it's really lovely. You know, when I have a moment, I go back and I take my time to go through everyone, and there's like banter going on, and, you know, people are noticing things that I haven't even seen. And it's the horror community and the film community have just welcomed us with open arms and been really complimentary. And you know what, it's kind of like, it feels like when you first come out of film school or drama school, and you're like, this is what it's about, and people were making fan art, and then their fan art's getting picked up by other people because people have seen it, because we've been retweeting it. So that's for me, that is what it's all about, you know, sharing something together. And especially in the time of a pandemic when we feel all very, very far apart.
It's crazy. And like a lot of you did like film this whole thing like in front of your screens, which is unbelievable.
You are now.
Pardon me?
2 weeks ago, you were Rob and the team, you know?
Yeah.
You were literally sat exactly where you sat, but you are where, you know, exactly where I was filming, you know, 2-3 weeks ago.
I know, it's kind of scary that you're literally like where you are in the movie. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
My shutters are open. It's fine.
Thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate chatting with you.
Oh, thank you, Peter. You've been so fantastic. I really love having the chat with you.
Absolutely. And where can people follow you on social media to keep update with everything?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Jemma_Moore, Jemma with a J, Moore Moore, and then you can also find me on Instagram at Jemma__Moore. So yeah, come and say hi, give me a shout. Tell me what you've seen in the film that I might not have, because I'm still going through it. I still can't find Alan. Can you find Alan? Apparently there's a bit where Alan is when Regina's going for a wee.
I'm gonna rewatch it. I haven't noticed that. No, I did know. I do have my theories about Teddy, because it's driving me nuts. Because
Teddy is hilarious. He's actually, you know, we didn't know Teddy before this. Teddy's a new. He knows the stunt guys. We didn't know him personally, but he knew the stunt team.
Oh, absolutely.
So he was very, very easy fitting in. Like,
and very quickly, can you plug, like, where can people follow your podcast?
Oh yeah, you can follow my podcast at the Hobbycast on Instagram and Twitter. Amazing. But if you follow me and you go into my on any of my home pages, there is a link in my bio.
Amazing. Thank you so much again. And this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Check out Jemma Moore in host on Shudder, and check out her podcast as well. Until next time, this is Jemma Moore and Peter Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.